Welcome to Unverified News. I am one of your hosts, Dean the Genetic Marvel, as you can see here, and I am with
Cole Clayton. I think I added a D at the end of that. I don't know why.
It was.
It
It sounded foreign. He's now in another country.
Let me do it again. This is Cole Clayton here, and I'm not retarded, I swear.
And so this is Unverified News, and we are talking about this week's events. And I will tell you, women have had a rough week, Cole. It's I'm like we were just having this conversation, everyone, and the idea has been that we are traditionally, my perception has always been that the last 2 weeks of August are always weeks where you definitely need air conditioning. So if you didn't have air conditioning, you only had fan at home, you'd be like, hey, I'm gonna go see a movie, like just go into different theaters all day long because they have air conditioning. I'll just refill my popcorn. That's fine, right? As a
Even
fact,
in Texas, August is always like the silent killer.
it's the months of especially the last 2 weeks. Like I'm in Toronto, Canada. Okay, so we don't have it that bad, but the last 2 weeks have been like insane amounts of rain, and it's only gotten worse. Which you're going, oh, that makes zero sense whatsoever. And it's one of those things that is very confusing. How has the weather been over there?
It's the same shit, dude. Like we had the third tornado of the year, which, if I'm being in Cleveland, in Northeast Ohio, that doesn't happen here. I've lived here. This is my 9th year living in Cleveland, and I've never even heard of a tornado. I've seen a couple when I lived in Texas, but I've never even heard of a tornado on maybe Southern Ohio, Cincinnati, which is Kentucky, pretty much. But Northeast Ohio, never. And this year, it's a conspiracy. And then a whole shit ton of rain. Power's always out. Like there's still traffic lights. The tornado was Friday night. Tornado. I don't even know if it was tornado, if it was just heavy wind, but they said tornado. But traffic lights are still down. I guess it was Thursday night. I'm sorry. I'm thinking today's Sunday.
Yeah, well, listen, realistically, it's time has mushed together for all of us since for the last 3 years, and now they're like, oh, get back to the office. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. You take your office and shove it up your ass.
They fucked up. They were like, y'all gotta stay home. Now y'all gotta come back.
So listen, hey, for the 2 CEOs who are like, I hate my family and my kids. Yeah, that's a you problem, bro. Right. The rest of us, we paid for this, and we're like, I'll make sure I love it.
We worked our asses off to have all this.
Yeah.
You know what
I mean? to have like 6 hours at home undisturbed. That's it. That's all we're paying for. And you know what? You were like, have 24. In fact, have 6 months. And we were like, yeah, that's okay.
It was like a year. Granted, I worked in carpet. I never really had that time off once me and my ex broke up.
Yeah.
But like, which was about 6 months in to the pandemic. So about 6 months, but we were locked down for about a year over here. Huh? Was that about the same there?
Listen, it was about the same. And in all honesty, it really turned out that we're just like, my wife, they tried to be like, hey, you need to come back to the office. And her direct supervisor was like, I don't want to go back to the office. So what are we fighting? Like, what do you guys think? And everyone's like, no, we don't want to go to the office. So, okay. So they're back and forth. They go, listen, I told my wife, I go, whatever you give up, you'll never get back. Just that's how it's going to go. So she's like, okay, 2 days a week. So she goes in Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and you're like, that's fine. But at the same time,
I wouldn't even do that.
What?
I wouldn't even do that. I'd be like, nah.
No, I wouldn't. It's one of those things where you're going, and I've even asked her, be like, do you find benefits? She goes, honestly, I just try and schedule like, because they do like fit, because she's a fashion designer, right? So they'll do fittings and stuff like that. So it's like you need to interact with people every once in a while.
Well, that's one thing.
Yeah.
If I gotta go in for 2 or 3 hours a week, fuck it. But why do I have to come in on days I don't got shit to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because and this is the thing too, is I explained to her, like, the fact is that if you know what your job is, and unless it's client facing, you don't have to be in an office.
That's what I'm saying,
right? So like anyone who's like, no, we have to be in the office, you're like, I don't think so.
There are computers in the house. They have been for over 20 years, for the most part, across the world.
Yeah, well,
in the developed world, I should say.
Listen, even still, like, so in Toronto right now, a bank that I will not name for reasons, they were building 2 skyscrapers downtown Toronto as their new, and they started like just before the pandemic. You're like, that's the literal worst thing you possibly could have done, right? So, and now it's almost empty all the time. So one is done, and it's massive, overpriced, just the worst economic decision they've ever made as a bank. Okay. And today one of them went on fire, and you're like, oh, I'm sure that's guys. I'm sure
Right. One caught on fire for sure.
nothing. Yeah, you know what? Hey, just it's a bat bit a hog, and that's how it came about. That starts a fire. That's how it does. Yeah.
Oh, we're blaming the bats. Bats have been getting bad publicity for this entire decade.
Listen, man, they made a choice, okay? They're like, we are the night. You're like, well, you're gonna be the night. That's just how it's gonna be. What's up, Serge? I worked through the lockdown. I had to deal with a bunch of idiots refusing to wear masks. Honestly, so this is the problem, okay? I am in Canada, and Canada, we are, up until like the 90s, we were a peace-loving people. We were kind-hearted and stuff, and known for our saying sorry. Even when we got, you would bump into us and we would apologize, okay?
Y'all still can't escape those stereotypes, even though it's been like 30 years.
Oh, no, we are actively fighting, because I'll tell you right now, is people are, if I had the laws that you guys had with regards to concealed carry, I'd be in jail so fast. So, and if it was like defend your land, like the where you can defend yourself, like in Florida,
stand your ground,
bro.
That's most places. You can stand your ground here in Ohio.
Listen, I would have a gold bar in my backyard, and I'd just stand there. Just be like, yeah, go for it. Just, Saturday night, boys, let's do it. Because there's no. I would totally bait people into that. I'd have bear traps in my lawn. Like, you can't. There's absolutely not, right? So it's that's why I'm like, you know what? The idea of people going, I don't want to wear a mask. Okay, get out. No, I have to do this. Then put on a mask. I don't want to. Then get the fuck out. Those are your options, right?
See, I don't know, man. During the lockdown, I was like so pro wear your mask, wash your hands. Like, I was a legitimate bleeding heart liberal. Sure. And then a year of the government telling me, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that. And then me seeing with my own eyes that, like, okay, we've all been wearing masks. I rarely see nobody with a mask. I gotta be honest with you. I didn't see nobody not wearing a mask. I never saw it. Okay. So at least in my part of the little world, why the fuck was everybody still sick? That at least that's what y'all are telling me. I don't know nobody who got sick. Like, maybe they got sick but didn't die. You know, didn't get real sick.
So, and that's
what's going on here. And that's when I was just like, anti-government.
It's well, and that's the thing is, the government made it. Like, you made it so easy to hate them, when you're going, okay, but that doesn't make sense. And like, when you would see people, like, you remember that video where the lady cut out the middle and was like, oh, it's just easier to breathe. You're like, are you just, you gotta be fucking kidding me, right? Like, it's just, I loved wearing my zombie mask. See, look, have fun with it. Okay. Don't be unreasonable. If you're gonna wear the mask, at least have a good time.
I don't know, man. That shit just, everything got sweaty and damp after a while. You know what I mean? I'm like, ugh.
Do you remember band, and they were like orchestras playing, and they would have like cutouts for their mouth, and you're like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
What planet? And then you're going, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, it's just weird. But I don't know.
I drove down to New Orleans to see my mom in the middle of the pandemic, and like, as soon as you hit the South, nobody was wearing a mask, which was like totally like, okay, what the it was just weird. I don't know. It was like seeing the Stepford Wives for the first time. You know what I mean? You're like, nobody's following the rules.
Yeah. Well, okay. So hilariously, so today on Instagram, I got into an argument with a couple of people because so it was a guy going 102 in the left lane. Okay, now the left lane, but there was also a high occupancy vehicle lane, so which is like a carpool lane. So he's in the passing lane. He's going 102 kilometers, which is the speed limit is 100. Okay, and this guy's like honking his horn. He's like, "What a fucking idiot!" And you're going, "Okay." He goes, "Fine, I'll pass you." Now, when he goes to pass him, he cuts him off. So the guy who got cut off, who was going 102, speeds up and brake checks him. And I go, so listen, you're both idiots. There's no question. And the one guy's like, here in Canada, the left lane is for passing, and you shouldn't be going the speed limit. And you're like, okay, that's fine. can you show me in the manual where it says if you're passing, it's permitted to go faster than the speed limit? Oh, wait.
It's never, yeah, you
No.
technically aren't supposed to. It only pass people who aren't going the speed limit.
So that is the law, is you can go up to 15 below the speed limit and not get a ticket. But the speed limit, as soon as you go 101, okay, or like the speed limit's 65 or whatever, and you go
Oh,
1
yeah, that's
mile
right.
over,
I'm like 100. You do kilometers. I'm in miles. I'm like, what
Yeah.
the fuck?
you're like, oh my God, it's so fast up there, right? So,
I'm like, I can't wait to get to Canada.
like, look, now, do I go 100 in the fast lane? No, I'm not a monster. But if you tell a cop, well, I was passing somebody. No, you weren't. It doesn't make a difference. So the hilarious part is where people just automatically, it's a passing lane, not a speeding lane. Exactly.
Right.
Hey, but listen, now, do I go, like, listen, I'll go to 150. If I'm driving on the highway, I'm going 120 because I'm not a loser. Okay. But if there's a cop, I'm going 100, probably 99, maybe even 98. You know why? Because I'm not getting a ticket. Okay. So eat shit and die. But if you're like, in this country, and you're like, so your automatic assumption is racism? Nice. You're going to hell. I like it.
Why is that racist?
Oh, because they have their assumption. When I say, well, that's the speed limit, I go, they're actually both bad drivers because one guy cut off another guy going the speed limit, and the other guy brake checked him. You're like, yeah, you're both wrong. You're both losers. But you can't get mad at somebody for going the speed limit, right? Is it? Are you are you a loser? Yes, you're a horrible person. But it's the speed limit. It's just, it sucks. You just go around them. Okay.
I get mad at people for going the speed limit sometimes.
I'm not saying, okay, what I'm saying is, do I get mad too? Yes, but you have no grounds to be mad. You get mad because of the general, okay, and I'll tell you this much, is when things opened up in the first, after the first round of vaccines happened and everyone was back on the road, everyone was going 100 kilometers an hour. Like nobody was going 120, which the norm is 20. So the speed limit is 65. How fast do you drive? 70, 75, 70?
About 10 over on the freeway, 5 over.
So ours
everywhere else.
We'll go 15 to 20 over. Okay. That's kilometers. So the same 10 miles an hour faster, totally reasonable. But when everyone just got back on the road, nobody was speeding, and I'm like, oh, we all became bitches. This is bullshit. Because I'm not, and trust me, I get mad about it. Don't think that I don't, people, but it's more so you can't just say, well, they're just not following the rules that we all agreed and made up ourselves. How dare you not follow the made up rules I made up in my head that me and 3 buddies all agreed to, dick. And you're like, that's not how life works. So, but yeah, it's one of those things where, I'll be honest with you, I missed the beginning of the pandemic where no one was on the road. It was great. It was delicious. And then
I didn't see too much of that, if I'm being honest with you. I didn't other than that trip I took to New Orleans, which was nice. You could drive all the way from the North Coast to the Gulf Coast. They call Cleveland the North Coast. That's a small rumor or whatever, but small nickname. But yeah, so you just drive from one body of water to the next, and
which is cool.
Just nobody on the road. It was nice.
Can I ask you a question? So in the beginning, did you ever wipe down your groceries?
No. I did.
We did it a couple times, and I was like, "This is stupid," but all right.
I did wipe down the buggy handle and any handle that I touched.
Fair. Any delivery boxes? Did you wipe the delivery boxes? We did that too a couple times.
No, I had a thing of sanitizer in my car that my brother stole from Chipotle. It was one of the giant fucking gallon ones. I was like, "Fuck yeah!" So I just stayed on top of it,
Squirted on everything, give it a little.
He don't work at Chipotle anymore, so he can't get in trouble for that, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah, sure. Why not? There's a statute of limitations from work.
He's already in prison, so.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Double prison him? Come on, people! Don't be ridiculous.
Fuck it, add 6 months to his.
Listen, that's gonna happen in the bathroom alone. He's just gonna be like, "You took too long." Boom, the next 6 months. We've all seen Shawshank Redemption. They don't let you out once you're in.
Yeah, it's a perpetual system here in America for sure. So you were saying women are having a rough week, huh?
Women are having a rough week, bro.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I love to see it. About fucking time. I wanted some equality.
Listen.
Now they're gonna have a bad week like all the rest of us.
I don't disagree with you. So there's a few news articles I was going to bring out. So number one, for hilarity's sake, okay, hold on, we got a comment here. Remember when government recommended the oral partition?
What? No, what is it? That's some Canada shit, isn't it?
In Vancouver, they recommended a glory hole.
What?
So you know what a glory hole is?
Yeah, but like, what's the?
So in Vancouver, they were like, it's probably safer for COVID if you at a
no
romantic involvement
no,
use a glory hole. I shit you not. If you Dino is not kidding, there you go. Dino is not kidding. Yeah, they recommended a glory hole for romantic interactions.
You know, they did. Now that I'm thinking about it, they did mention that if you don't live with a sexual partner, that if you're going to have sex, this was early. If you're going to have sex with somebody you didn't live with, to wear a mask during. And I was like, what the fuck?
Hey, listen. So the funny thing is that. So back in the, I guess it was the 80s, was when AIDS became a thing. Okay, people were like, you can't shake hands with a gay person because you might get AIDS. That was a real rumor that people would say, right? And that's why. And you're like, so hilariously, the reason that like Princess Diana was such a big deal because she went and visited people with AIDS publicly on camera and would shake their hands and made them feel human. Right. That rumor where it's like, oh, it's contagious. If you breathe in a gay's air, you're going to get AIDS. That was from Anthony Fauci, just to be very clear. That guy has been
100%
out of the park since the 80s, people. That guy is killing it. Got to be safe and make it interesting. Listen, it's, that's the funny part was that when people couldn't get like just indiscriminate sex randomly, like in the club or whatever, they're like, well, I'm just going to become a prostitute and go to OnlyFans. And you're like, I get it, but also really couldn't hold 6 months. Couldn't just, it's a very,
the funniest, like, AIDS rumor or whatever, a conspiracy or whatever that I ever heard was from a black friend of mine probably 10 years ago. And just in conversation, he was like, that's why they were putting AIDS in Pop-Tarts. And I was like, what the fuck did you say? And he was like, yeah, why do you think only black people and gay people got it?
You're like, what the fuck? Bro.
And I did say that last week, but like it's stuck with me forever. Like
for sure. Like really, so that's the problem is, and also like the amount of like, okay, we all had someone in high school or grade school who like had an older brother who came by and told you some shit, and you're like, oh yeah, that's the truth, and you're like, no, they're just fucking with you constantly, right? Like we all had that experience. Here, dude, I did the ultimate sacrifice and I had sex with my wife. You're a hero. Hashtag hero, bro.
Was it unprotected though? Like, are you a real hero or are you a made up hero? Like,
I've been married twice, and both times they were like, oh, would you? I'm like, absolutely not. I'm married. I'm never wearing anything. That there were just
I think I've worn condoms twice my entire life, and then I think one of them was to beat off in when I was like 13. So,
I get it. You got to try it once. I protected. Don't want to catch anything. Walkie talkies you need. You're a hero. You're a hero to the common man, sir. Speaking of heroes,
wash it off.
Just wash it off. Just dip it in apple cider vinegar. Yeah. Apple cider vinegar, it cures it. It's fine.
No, Dawn dishwashing liquid.
It's good enough for the. It's good enough
Takes
for the
grease right off.
Takes the grease right. Die. Oh, that's horrible. All right, so here's the first one. There were a group of girls that were they ruined a kid's life in adolescence, and he has finally found out that they just were like, oh, we just didn't like him. So these are her names for public record, and they are monsters. Not too bad looking, and I don't think that's the kid up there, but still, it's not. You know what, pretty girls, be nicer to people. That's horrible.
What did they get out of ruining somebody's life? And like, I don't know, man. Like, that's kind of like proof that like we're too focused on what men are doing wrong and what men are like. We shouldn't stop focusing on it by no means. But like, my big thing is this argument came out probably 10 years ago for the most part when they're like, you got to stop teaching boys to like be distracted by the way women dress or whatever,
Sure.
blah blah blah. And although I kind of agree with it,
Yeah.
if we're gonna do that, we gotta teach women to have like, I don't know, common decency and morals and like sympathy and empathy and shit. You know what I mean? Like,
this is the thing is, and Serge, you are right. Kids are an STD, and now we know that's fair. That's not a. They are
kids and AIDS. They're like one letter separated.
Yeah. The one is curable, one is not. One, if you get it early enough, no problem, totally legal. You can get rid of it. So
I mean, you can cure kids even after it's born. You just like adopt or leave.
Just leave them at Walmart. It'll take care of itself. That's just.
I mean, if you're a man, you can just leave at any time. Like, trust me, my dad did it. Cured me of him or him of me.
Oh, this is the issue though, right? Is that realistically, is the idea that men shouldn't be distracted by what a woman wears is not a bad skill to have. That doesn't minimize a man's ability. If anything, it makes him better. I'll say that right now.
Do you know how many accidents I almost get in a day when I see women walking by dressed especially this time of year, summertime.
Listen. We've all seen Seinfeld. She wore a bra as a shirt. That is criminal. Okay, it's criminal.
It's kind of actually a normal thing nowadays, though.
And that's the thing is, like, listen, not being distracted by this stuff makes you as a man a better person. But when a woman dresses like that, the idea where they're like, well, I dress like that for my own comfort. You're like, no, you don't. You do it because you're trying to get attention.
Right.
I get it. But that's the thing is, as you can't say, well, you guys can't react to it. Okay. But you have to stop using your sexuality as currency. It's that. That's the problem, right?
I get it if you're in the sense.
Hold on. Let's be clear. I don't want that, women. I want you all on OnlyFans. It makes Google so much easier. Twitter's been great. It is absolutely ridiculous. I feel bad for you, but at the same time, little John Lovitz, you're going mad. It's my success. That's fine. I'm okay with that. So, whatever.
My ordeal is like if it's in a situation where it's called for, okay, fine. Like at the pool, at the beach, because as men, we all have our shirts off. You know what I mean? We're probably not wearing shoes or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like, when do you see a man walking down the street with no shirt on? And even if he is, he's like, you're like, dude, put a shirt on. You know what I mean? Like,
so that I saw a guy who was like, he's running and he had his shirt in his back pocket, like hanging out of his pants. And I'm like, put your shirt on.
Right. Put your shirt on.
What are you doing? Oh, it's real hot. Yeah, it's called exercise.
I don't give a fuck. Go home. There's air conditioning.
Yeah, you're doing the exercise. You're gonna get hot. That's how it works. Otherwise, you can go into an.
Why do you think the rest of us are fat?
Yeah,
because we don't want to be hot.
Serge says you can look without being obvious. Yeah, why would I bother? I don't care.
I don't care if you see me.
Yeah,
I don't care. I'm like,
nice rack.
That reminds this one time I was driving through Costco, right, and I was looking at this chick who was just probably the finest woman I've ever seen in my life. Okay, and she saw me see her, and she looked away and then looked back at me to see if I was still looking. I was still looking, and then she looked away again and then looked at me again. She said, "Stop," and I said, "Nuh-uh."
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Listen, I'm not being dirty, but you're a lot to look at. And see, there's
like, why is it creepy to look? Like, that's so weird. I'm not saying nothing to you. I'm not walking up to you.
I think the real advice here is, men, when you are looking. So this is the thing is, I can make eye contact with you. Sorry, I'm looking. What are you gonna do?
Right.
You can't do like,
right.
That's no. Now you're a dirty man, right? you gotta be just like, I give a thumbs up. I go, oh, looking good, like a real old person. Like I'm like, oh, very nice. Every once in a while, you know what? Actually, around the time that Borat came out, I did go to Greece, and because Greece is the Thunderdome, like people are it's
called Greece. We know.
Yeah.
We know they're dirty there.
But because there's also like, you assume that there's a language barrier. Everybody in Greece knows English. They just won't talk it because they don't want to look. They don't want to pronounce
English,
right? Yeah, well, also too, English is dirty. Once you've spoken Greek or another foreign language that's actually poetic, you're like, oh, English is disgusting. It's not as descriptive. It's not as beneficial, but
It was invented by the Vikings. Of course, it's not poetic.
it's not even. It's pathetic.
It's Germanic. It's a Germanic language.
Listen, I'll tell you this much, is that based on Latin and Greek, you can learn every language until you hit Asia. Asia then becomes the Thunderdome with just like sign language. It's something.
They just make shit up over there.
Well, listen,
they're like, these are our letters, and it's like a fucking symbol. You're like, what the fuck? Yeah, and like each letter is a different, or it's not even a letter, it's a word. It's a whole word.
It's very, very difficult. Even, and I've told people before, I'm like, I've tried to learn Cantonese. Mandarin was very simple to learn. I
thought Mandarin was the harder one than Cantonese.
No, Cantonese is more poetic, so it's more complex. And Mandarin is simplified, like on purpose. It's made to be a simpler language, but like it's still hard, right? Like it's easier because I already know another language, and I'm familiar with some other languages, just a few, like hello, how are you? Go fuck yourself, right? I think it's important to know if I'm being cussed out in another language. That's, for me, is very key. Because people are like, why? And I'm like, well, because then I know, because I'll tell you this much, a punch in the face is universal. It's just one of those things where people...
I don't care if I'm being cussed out in English, so...
Oh, if somebody cusses me out in shit, I go, go fuck yourself. You know? And then they get really mad, and I'm like, what are you going to do about it? You're 2 feet tall. I find that short people always get the most mad, and I go, do you want me to get a ladder for you? You can look me in the eye? No? Okay, shut up. It's easy. Right? So, as we were saying, women are having a hard week. Also, too, this has been making its rounds, which is in nature. Poisonous creatures will develop bright colors to warn others of their toxicity. Now, last week we did talk about the fact that there is no such thing as masculine toxicity or toxic masculinity. There is only people who are toxic, whether they're male, female, dwarf, doesn't make a difference. So that is one of the funny things, is that we've seen a lot more people who want to express themselves with their... Okay, here's the thing, is if your personality is based on your haircut, you're not a person. Just to be very clear, right? It's the same, like I say, the same thing is if your entire personality is based on your, like, so I guess you understand I'm gay, and you're like, that's
we can tell, like, you know, like,
that's your whole personality. You're just a prostitute. That's what you are. Like, it's not, you know, because if anyone else was like, so I guess you guessed I like women. The fuck is with that guy, right? It's I think
you're like, he's gay for sure.
He's definitely gay. That's for sure.
Like women.
That guy loves the cock, right? It's one of those things. I think Tom Segura was telling a story about meeting somebody who everyone's like, they're not out, but you know that guy's gay. They're like, how? They're like, have you met him before? He's like, no. He goes, go meet him. And the guy walks up, he's like, oh yeah, so I met this girl last night. I was eating her pussy like for hours. And you're like,
nobody eats pussy for hours.
Number one,
like a bag of sand.
Yeah. It's not even that. It's more so like,
played before.
How are you gonna walk up to somebody, meet for them first time, and be like, "Hey, man, so I was eating this girl's pussy." You're like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, you weirdo?" Like, just like I'm bald and would like to think I look like Jason Statham, but people just say, "Hey, you got." Listen, Sloth was the hero of that movie, okay? And if anything, he was a crime fighter. He was, you know, he wore a Superman shirt. But Sloth was actually Batman, okay? He fought crime, saved little children, didn't want to show his face. Sloth is Batman, okay? That's just factual.
Take it from somebody who has dyed their hair on multiple occasions. I've had pink hair, not all pink, but just like chunks of it.
Your ally, a streak of ally? Is that what you were trying to fuck somebody, weren't you?
I mean, usually, yeah, but that wasn't the reason.
A little bit, maybe. A little bit.
Well, it's not unheard of for me to date a they/them if they/them was formatted with female parts originally. I don't know what the terms are, but that has nothing to do with anything.
It's if they show they/them.
I am a toxic individual.
Yeah, that's true.
And I have dyed my hair. I've had fades and lines in my hair, and I've done the handlebar mustache. All right. So anybody who has to do something crazy with their hair or their beard, it's crazy. Like they are going through something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Stay away. Stay away.
It is fair warning. If it's loud, there's a reason. You banged a chick who looked like Bowser. Don't
I have. I'm a firm believer of trying anything twice.
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna send you a couple memes of Gorlock the Destroyer, and you tell me if that's up for grabs or not. So let's go with. So this is an example of toxicity, people. Just so you guys understand, you have Keanu Reeves blasted for having a chubby body while spending his day on a boat on Family Day. Whereas, as we saw from last week, everyone's modern hero, Lizzo, teaches us a huge self-love despite all trolls and naysayers. Now, it's come out that she has been not only a horrible human being, but also fucking hates fat people. That is for sure. Which I'll tell you this much: nothing makes you hate fat people more than being a like epic level fatso and then
Being fat,
losing weight. Yeah, once you're fat and then lose weight, you fucking hate fat people because you're like, I was a better fat person than you. Who dares talk about Johnny Utah? Guy, this is the thing is, it's hard to be like to have abs and stuff as you get older, right? That's just factual. You have to invest time in that activity. And if you're not in a movie where you need to be ripped, there's 0 point because it is actually unhealthy, right? Like you have to be very it's dangerous for your nerves and your body to not have that much fat, right?
right?
Now, that being said, right, it's the assumption that you're like, oh, well, you have to be ripped to have your shirt off. You're like, number one, no. Have you ever been to any barbecue in anywhere in the world? You go to a barbecue, there's gonna be some guy with his gut out just going, oh, it's real hot today. Oh, I would do it because I'm like, I don't give a shit. Okay.
I wouldn't, but
and
okay, I'm trying to eat, like.
Well, listen,
I expect the same respect I give others.
Listen, that's
the pool, like I said, the beach. That's really it, motherfucker. Like what the sauna?
Yeah, sauna's good. Honestly,
the comfortability of your own home.
Yeah, well, yeah. I have done that before. That's uncomfortable, but sometimes you gotta take your shirt off. Sometimes it's hot. You need to be a little bit free. Okay. There is one more story with regards to how bad women are having it. Now, we've talked about equality and the fact that a lot of the times people want all the benefits of equality without the difficulty. So an example of that is that when men got the vote in North America, the United States and Canada as well, was specifically because they would be drafted in times of war, and they have been both World War I, World War II, and then you guys had
Vietnam.
Vietnam is a big thing, right? So
I think Vietnam was the last one.
I think so. Well, hey, there's always tomorrow. So one of the things that is get older faster. Be like, I got a bum foot. Sorry.
I can't apply for college as a man. No man in America can go to college without first applying for the draft. So there's that.
Yeah.
In America, I don't know how they do it.
I don't know. I've never heard of any because we don't have anything like that. Remember, we use.
Y'all have a military?
We do, but it's voluntary. So.
Y'all militia.
No. It is. We do have a real military, but more so that we rely on the United States as for protection, right? So we have natural resources. You have.
Why the fuck are we defending y'all when y'all are owned by the Queen? Like, this don't make no fucking sense at all.
Well, I'm not really sure on the details. It's more.
Y'all some punk ass. That's what I'm understanding.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I would rather have guns, but
and then, yeah, y'all aren't allowed to have guns, but you're protected by the U.S., but you're owned by the Queen. And then y'all take people's money away for saying some shit against the government. Like, what the fuck is going on over there?
Hey, listen, and the best part is, so just recently, our prime minister had mentioned, so he brought into law that Facebook and a few other so Facebook and I forget who else it was can't post news articles and that so the news is like, all right, so Facebook is like, yeah, no problem, all news is out, no problem. So they wouldn't even let you share news articles through Messenger up here. Okay, now
even Messenger.
Hey, and that's the funny thing is that was like forced through. Hey, what's up? The Life Ava. How you doing? Welcome. We're just talking about all sorts of shit. So
What to do?
and Queen is just a symbol. We are free from Austin Powers. Thank you for subscribing. It's greatly appreciated. From
Appreciate you.
St. Louis. Nice. I've never been to St. Louis. I hear good things. So this is the whole thing is that now when they weren't being allowed to post stuff on Facebook and Instagram, the prime minister was like, how dare they not let us post stuff? And you're like, wait, you just put it into law, jackass. So he's getting mad at the own law that he put through that everyone was like, that's a stupid idea. Like, why are you doing that kind of stuff? So thank you for subscribing. Very appreciate it. If you have anything you want to talk about, please feel free to bring it up. We are talking about the week's events and all sorts of mad things that have been happening. Because let's be honest, it's been an insane week. So that being said, yeah, it's very weird. But also too, you got to remember is there's a few news articles about things that Canadians did during World War I, World War II that were included in things like the Treaty of Versailles and the Geneva Convention because they were not nice things to do. Things that Germany was railroaded for doing. Canada did much worse. And they were like, oh, you got to get the Canadians out of here. They are fucking mental. So
I don't know, man. We were doing the same shit to the Japanese too, with the internment camps and all that. So like, it's shitty. I'm not saying it's not shitty. What I'm saying is like, it seemed like everybody was doing that at the time, whether they want to or not. The difference is we were on the winning side of the war, so you know what I mean, like whatever. And then we got Operation Paperclip. So like, which is just essentially saying, they're fine if they work for us, and so what if they were Nazis?
So the funny thing is that was one of the first times where it's like, oh, they are the bad guys, but even if they're the bad guys, we're going to nab them anyway. And well, we can use them. And you're like, no, they're the bad guys. Just get rid of the bad guys. Hilariously, on a side note, I just watched the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka on
I'm gonna watch that after this.
It's really enjoyable, but one of the things is because this is just after it's Return of the Jedi, right? So the Empire is gone. No. So there's the thing.
I would have preferred after Order 66, but
no, it's after Return.
Right.
No.
I would have preferred. What I'm saying is,
no, you're right. I think it's after Order 66. I think. No, is it? I don't know. I think
Order 66 is when I purged all the Jedi.
Yeah, no, I know that. I have that book. It's actually quite good. So, side point. I forget when it's located. It's in between movies, but one of the key things is that the Empire is done and the New Republic is starting. So I believe it's after Return of the Jedi. I believe so, but it's a weird time for everything. Like there's a lot going on in that. It might be after the because after the Clone Wars. No, because Ahsoka's that age. I forget. Anyway, the point is this. Watching it, one of the things was they're like, oh, well, even after the Empire fell, there are people who are loyal to the Empire, but, that's not my problem. I'm just running a business. And you're like, oh, okay. Except, ta-da! You hire the bad guys. The bad guys do bad shit. That's what they do because they're greedy pieces of shit. That's just, ta-da! It's just how science works. So
it's just government, man. Like that's what I do like about Star Wars is it just proves. Because if you watch the prequels, you realize the Jedi were just as incompetent and greedy as the fucking Sith were, and it's just anytime government becomes big government, you can small government's one thing, having a town or whatever, and they're all kind of coming together. But anytime a big government becomes everybody gets too big for the britches, and then becomes more of a just a fucking cesspool for greed.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the thing is when government's job is just to protect the government, it's no longer doing its job of serving the people. And then it needs to be gotten rid of, right? And that's right. The whole thing is now, we talked about it last week, was the whole idea is that a lot of bureaucrats and government publicly elected officials, their job isn't to represent the people that they elected them, but instead it's to get reelected, which you're like, that
Right.
is false, right? So another article that, well, things are changing, people, is this one, Cole. You're going to have to explain it. So a 19-year-old woman given 2 concurrent life sentences for fatal 2022 crash that killed 2 people. Tell me what the hell this was about. It's about Mackenzie Sharilla is the person, but take it away.
So this happened over in Strongsville, which is maybe half an hour from me. It's on the west side of Cleveland. I'm on the east side.
Yeah.
And I didn't even really hear about it till maybe a month or so ago, but it happened last year. And this teenager, this chick, she was having, I don't know, relationship problems with her boyfriend, I guess. I didn't really look into what those relationship issues were too much, but assumably he was probably texting. He's a fucking kid, you know what I mean? He was texting some girl, more than likely. And she just took it upon herself to drive off the fucking highway at 100 miles an hour and drive into a wall. I assume she was trying to kill herself as well, and somehow she survived. I don't understand how that happened. She's probably wearing her seatbelt.
She's a woman, so she's probably a witch. Let's be honest. She used her magical powers. She's like, haha, I won't die, but you will. So
the 2 passengers, her boyfriend and her boyfriend's best friend, died tragically. And I know as I'm explaining this, if we have any viewers right now, any female viewers are saying, he got what he deserved. I know that's what's happening right now.
That's fine.
But so did she. So fucking did she, if you ask me. We gotta stop. Dude, there's a car that parks next to me every once in a while. For this past year, it's a video on my TikTok. So I'm sure you've seen it, Dino. Yeah. You can go and look at it. And it just has lying cheater or something keyed into the side of his car. And he's been driving around that shit for over a year, which means he can't afford to fucking fix it. So I feel bad for him. But it's like, man, like, I'll sue your ass or whatever, hit you with vandalism. I don't give a fuck. Why do women seem to think that a man deciding to have sex or whatever with somebody else has like these like adverse like consequences?
Yeah.
Like, let karma take over. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, he probably got an STD. That's how that works, right? But it's one of those things where
the STD was a wall into his face.
Well, right in his
brain. Like,
maybe he cheats on his taxes. maybe.
Who doesn't? Wait, what?
This is who doesn't. No one. We all pay our taxes.
We pay our taxes.
All taxes are paid.
All of them. We pay more than we're supposed to.
I don't have a job, people, so that's fine.
I'm a 1099 worker.
Yeah, well,
come get me.
Yeah. So, but realistically, that's the one thing is that she flat out, like, listen, she's being charged with murder, right? And well, she's being found guilty of murder at this point, which I'm not necessarily against, but normally, as we were talking about this before, was that women aren't usually charged with murder. They usually will get off with it being accidental, right? And
right, they'll get like the insanity plea or temporary insanity, all that stuff. Like, they get all kinds of advantages. This is the first time where I've seen, outright, they got her with murder, not manslaughter, not nothing. No, now obviously there are women who've been convicted of murder.
Oh, but like, of course,
this is like the first time where like that. And the other argument to be made is usually you hear. Even with men, it is like, oh, are we sure that like they were smart enough that they understand what they're doing because of their age or whatever? Because she was 17 when it happened. But I didn't even hear that come up. Like, they just straight up were like, no, fucking throw her in jail. And I'm as much as like I'm like, yeah, they're throwing her whole life away for 2 life sentences. That's 50 years.
Yeah,
you know, like easy. You know, I don't think we have the death penalty in Ohio. I doubt they'll give it to a woman.
Well, it did happen a while ago somewhere. I think it was in Texas. They
Texas don't give a fuck, bro. Texas will give everybody. Give you
I love
death penalty for robbing a liquor store. They don't give a fuck.
I love how Texas is like, nah, this is Texas. They're like, well, you're in the U.S. You're like, nah, this is Texas. And you're
Texas
just like,
has a law or a policy. I don't know if it's a law or policy or whatever. But if you fail 2 appeals for the death penalty, they move you up to the front of the line.
oh, you're like, so, oh,
They
you thought you could get off?
streamline your ass.
Nah, we're gonna get this done. You're wasting too much money. That's I kind of respect it. Like, see, this is the problem is that when like we had talked about this before, is like the idea where you're like, we went in to, as a younger person, you kind of be like, well, people should be treated with kindness and stuff like that. And as you get older, you kind of start going, no, you don't deserve shit, right? And then you're like, oh, like I kind of like I actually did a joke about this. So I did a contest this week, everyone in Toronto. It's called Comedy Brawl. Look it up. I won my night earlier this week. But one of the jokes, thank you. It was one of the jokes that I was saying was how it's like, on one side, like now that I've lost like 195 pounds, I'm faster, but I'm still like old man strong. So I'm like, I kind of want someone to try and test it because I'll beat the shit out of them. But like, I don't want to get jumped by 4 guys and get my ass kicked because I'm like, yeah, I don't want to get the shit kicked out of me and then have brain damage. I'm like, I just want somebody to pick a fight and be like, hey man, I'll beat the shit out of you. And then just watch them crumble, like this, like a reasonable person, not, But then in Texas, you're like, I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I would kill people. But then you're like, but what if hard time comes and then I'm the robber? I don't want to get shot. It's horrible. It's a horrible experience, Yeah. Oh, an interesting thing that happened in the NBA was this guy. How do I log out of this? Haven't worked here in weeks. Anyway, the NBA extends its social media employees greatly to the detriment of their health and social lives for a salary of less than $50K annual after taxes. Okay, let's start there. $50K after taxes is a good job.
With benefits.
Okay, with benefits.
It says, oh, we got to wait 90 days for our benefits. That's kind of normal, I think.
That's more than normal. And also, too, you overworked doing social media, so it's detrimental to your health and social lives. Your health is your responsibility. Your social life is not a thing, sir. It is not a thing.
It's not important. It's not like, why would you bring that up? Like, that was a woman. That was a fucking woman. I don't care. Or social lives. What?
My social life is being affected. That is a woman in her 30s.
Bro,
She's like, I need to get married and have kids.
You're at work. If that was a man and his job was to, you know what he would be doing? He'd be talking to everybody else in the office or on the phone, texting with somebody with a beer in his fucking hand, bro.
Let's be honest. He'd be on his phone at your office, be like, yeah, gay, hit you in the nuts and walk away. That's what he would do. Because that's what I would do. Be like, loser.
I 100% believe that was a female. There's nothing in my mind that they would end. Honestly, we don't need a fucking bitch running the National Basketball Association's social medias anyway. Good fucking riddance, if you ask me.
Also, okay, so let's go on. It says, I worked 14-hour shifts without breaks at times. Shout out to Adam Silver. If you're a social media expert, you're not posting. You think it's down as if you're like, what you probably did was you did some, took a break, hung out, thought about some stuff, did some more, chilled out, went for lunch, did some stuff. And, you did maybe 6 hours of work spread out over an entire day.
Yeah, what were you doing for 14 hours? Yeah. What world where you were just at the computer type? What were you doing social media wise? What were you doing for 14 hours straight without leaving the desk the entire time?
Listen,
that doesn't make any fucking sense.
It gets better because we don't get health insurance until 90 days on the job. That's silly, isn't it? No, that's a normal practice for all over the world. Glad I resigned. No need for a job to get in the way of your happiness. As we go into one of the biggest recessions / depressions of the century, we'll see. But hilariously, if you are responsible for their social media, how do you not know how to log off something? Just also, you didn't hand back your iPad, your technology that they probably paid for. Because let's be honest, it wasn't on your personal stuff. If you can't figure out how to log off, you couldn't get it on your personal stuff. You were like, "What's the I don't understand the password. What's the? Is it lowercase or uppercase? Is there a symbol? Do I need a symbol for like this?"
Yeah, it sounds like the NBA caught a dub on this one. Like,
Yeah, like I'm the first one to say like down with corporations and stuff, but I don't think the NBA did anything wrong in this situation. I think they lucked out and are like, hey, let's hire somebody who actually knows how to do the job because
50K a year after taxes. After taxes.
that's a good job. Like that's okay. That
Now it's not. You're not
taxes,
rich. Like that's 10,000 more than I make, give or take. Okay, so it's not really that noticeable. So it's probably a little less than $1,000 extra a month. Which, if I could have $1,000 extra a month, that would fucking do me justice. But
yeah,
that's, of course, that's after taxes. So like it is $1,000 give or take after like just straight handed to you a month. More than I make. And then like you're a social media tech.
That's not a job.
You have so much free time to go and do a side hustle. I assume to be somebody else's social media tech. You know what I mean? Like you can do 2 of those jobs at once.
You can definitely do. You could do like you could handle probably say like the NBA, maybe an MLS team, and like a tennis player. Like you could do 3 of those, like 2 big team, like a league, a team, and a person. Like you can handle 3 social media accounts of that level. Like that level of work would be fine because you're not.
And then your own, because most people have their own too.
Well, like realistically, I think if you did it as a job, you'd have less because it'd just be like pictures of dumb shit you see, or you sharing retarded shit, right? But speaking of retarded shit, like a physical version of blackface, actors with dwarfism hit out at Hollywood for putting Hugh Grant as the head Oompa Loompa in the new Willy Wonka. I found this hilarious, and now we've had this discussion in private, and you brought up some good points, Cole. So specifically around the idea of how many, like, listen, this is not the age of Wizard of Oz. How many dwarves are good actors?
Yeah, Peter Dinklage. That's fucking it.
It's Peter Dinklage, and there's a comedian, Brad.
I know what you're talking about. Miller? Is it Miller?
Maybe with an M, but Brad he's a funny guy.
Is he an actor though?
But
he's a stand-up comedian, and he's a fabulous stand-up comedian.
Yes, I think he could do it. I think he could do acting, right? Like listen, Bobby Lee does acting. Bobby Lee's, let's.
But we don't hire Bobby Lee to do the fucking.
I feel like he could
the
be
Asian guy in whatever movie we're talking about.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like you're gonna hire fucking Jet Li or something. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's true.
You're gonna hire Bobby Lee to play Bobby Lee with a different name. That's what you're gonna do.
Well, he's not gonna have like speaking parts. He just does a look like, oh, like that's But like, yeah, like there's Peter Dinklage and Brad, who is a comedian.
Wee Man, but to be honest with you, he's never an actor. Like he was just Wee Man.
Wee Man is a good-looking dwarf, though. Like you look at him, you're going, because he doesn't have the
giant forehead.
Yeah. Which, like, listen, I don't mean that to be mean. It's just like, hey, man, that's a real thing.
I said, I don't have a problem with it. Like, why did Peter Dinklage not beat out Brad what?
Brad Williams.
Williams, okay. Yeah. Why didn't Peter Dinklage beat out Hugh Grant for the role? Okay, you might make a good point, but then there's a steep drop off. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a whole lot. Maybe Peter Dinklage was busy that day or roped up in something else. He's been very busy these last few years. But as far as I don't have a problem with it. Like, if you found like when it comes down to brass tacks, movies and television is a business. I hate it because I'm an artist. I hate but at the same time, I get it as a person who runs my own household. There are people's fucking jobs and livelihoods at stake. So you need to hire the best guy you think you can hire to do the role.
And there's 2 things to consider, right? Like, we live in a world that is run by bean counters, right? Like, it is the accounting department, which has no creative abilities whatsoever. And then you have marketing, who barely can read. Right? Those are the 2 things that are in control of a lot of the world, because advertising and then dollars and cents. So you have then they are trying to profit off of creativity. And the problem is that if you're like, well, we're not represented, good, do it yourself. It's that simple, right? Like, remember, there was like the Learning Channel, History Network, where people who had those kind of things were like, we can do our own thing. Now that turned into like, John and Kate plus 8, which you're like, that's horrible. And like now it's all about aliens on the History Channel, which isn't as horrible as John and Kate plus 8. Let's be very clear. But
it's the History Channel.
But it's well, and we're finding out maybe they were always here. Maybe
I'll get
humans
fired.
are they? Listen, octopi, very, very, it's very sus. Very sus. Let's be very clear. They may be the aliens. We may be the aliens. I don't know. But
that my grandfather, when I was like 17, told me this. He was high as shit. But he told me this story about how he believes that the reason you can't find the missing link between apes and people is because aliens came down and mated with the apes, and that's why we have like less hair and we look a little different and everything. And then the aliens like died off.
It's very. Hey, listen, there's that's the hilarious thing, because I love it when people are like, then why do we still have apes? And you're like, listen, that's not how that works, but that's fine. Like, it's fine. And that's like the idea where people are like, we evolved from bananas. You're like, that's not how that works either. Let's just relax. Like, we walked out of the seat. No, we didn't. Just calm down, right? There's a lot to be wanting from that. But the fact is that if you really want something to be creative, like this is where like I've even started linking up with other artists in the city, and even just me and Cole doing this kind of stuff. We're like, listen, you have to be able to produce something yourself and learn so that you can do more, right? He sounds like Captain Kirk fucked Charles Heston in Planet of the Apes. I like, realistically, that's very possible, right? Like, because they're both a little hairier than men should be. So
which Captain Kirk? The Chris Pine one or the William Shatner one?
I've heard that Chris Pine is an absolute slut. So it was probably him. Which, like, I feel like William Shatner played the slut. So like Captain Kirk was the slut, not William Shatner. But Chris Pine is apparently an absolute filthmonger. Like, just, he is drowning in it. And by choice.
Look at him.
I don't. You know what I mean? If I had hair like that, I would too. He's
like if Brad Pitt was Coca-Cola, then Chris Pine is Pepsi. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like that's a fair. Like, listen, you have like Dr. Pepper, which is Benedict Cumberbatch, which you're like, listen, some people love it, and I get it. But at the same time, like, my wife, she's like, he's so dreamy. I'm like, he can't pronounce the word penguin.
David Beckham is Dr. Pepper. Benedict Cumberbatch is ginger ale.
No, he's not good for your stomach. No way. I would think somebody like, yeah, who would be ginger ale? That's a good question. Somebody wholesome. I think Keanu Reeves might be ginger ale. Let's be honest, because he's a kind person, which is weird. It is weird. Don't get me wrong, but he's apparently just like a nice person.
I think Pete Davidson is Baja Blast.
He's like the red one and the orange one mixed together. I like Taco Bell. Like, yeah, it's Code Red and Baja Blast. Like, because he's also, like, he said he's like a schizo or something, right? So he's definitely both flavors. Just depends on the day. Like the gravitational pull of Mercury, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's some sort of star thing bullshit. That
this is a theme we have to keep going. We have to name different types of celebrities and what kind of.
Nothing wrong with. We should make a list. We should make a list. If you have an opinion, feel free to add it in the comments. We will read them out. So also too, so one of the things with this is like with regards to work, right? Like, so Cole, you have had various jobs. I have had various jobs. I used to be a real person. I was a financial planner. You currently DoorDash because your OnlyFans hasn't boomed yet, but it's coming. I am now applying to Foot Finder. We'll see what happens, but there is a growing trend. It has two options. So these ones, you can't really read it, but the one side, it says, if you work less than 100 hours a week, you better lower your tone, versus the other side, which is the Pepe the Frog, which is if you work more than 0 hours a week, you better lower your tone. Now, my question is this: what the hell happened to a regular 35, 45 hour a week job? Like, just like, hey man, yeah, just come in, do your job, fuck off. Why is that so criminalized now? And the idea is like, honestly, bro, if you're working 100 hours a week, just so you know, everyone is fucking your lady. Just every person alive is fucking your lady because you're not. Okay.
100%.
And on that note, too, I just saw this today was apparently Steve Harvey, who is notoriously on every channel of the TV, which is right.
Maybe you have cable.
And he's on the internet too, man. That guy is unstoppable. But
you know he's from Cleveland?
Is he really?
I didn't know that, but yeah.
Who knew? But his wife apparently cheated on him with his personal chef and his bodyguard. And you're like, bro, Steve Harvey, like that flavor saver he's got on his lip, you know he does work with that thing. So like the fact that she's like, I'm gonna hook up with the staff. Like there is nothing sacred anymore, and I feel like that's a problem, right? Also, if you're working 0 hours a week, man, become an artist. Do something. You can't do nothing. You gotta produce something. It may be shit, but you gotta do something. I think that's fair. But I don't understand why there's subjects. What's been your experience, Cole? You're more in tune with activities than I am. I hate everything.
Well, okay, so I've been a cook, a line cook, a sous chef, a carpet installer. I've worked with like landscaping. I've done like fencing, roofing.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of shit, bartending.
Yeah.
Now I deliver food.
Yeah.
I've done comedy work, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I've also done nothing. Like I was a stay-at-home father, which I guess to me that's nothing. Some people will be like,
yeah, it's totally not, but yeah.
No, I wasn't. I was just hanging out with my kid who was barely old enough to talk.
Yeah.
My firm belief as a man, you gotta work because that's what broke me and my ex in the grand scheme of things. We always argued, we always had problems, but like what broke the stick is me staying home and her working. That was just no matter the fact that like she proposed it. It was her idea. What it comes down to is she'll lose all respect for you. So you gotta work. You gotta fucking work. As a man, you gotta work. It doesn't matter if she's working or not. You have to work. And then secondly, you gotta find something that like you can do that doesn't drive you insane. Yes. You know what I mean? And there also has to be a balance of other things in your life too. You can't work 100 hours. Get the fuck out of here. That's insane. And the reason how come you can't do the 100 hours is that's a hustler's mentality. Okay, the only people who really should be hustling are fucking drug dealers. Okay, those people will fucking kill you. Okay, any hustler will fucking kill you. They only care about theirs and them's, and that's a big problem. What's coming in America, probably in Canada and most big developed countries now. Is the hustler's mentality because there's so few jobs. Everything's in fucking China, and China's about to go to shit. If you haven't been paying attention, and like so, we're all doing a side hustle on top of our main job, which is probably a hustle in itself. Wages aren't enough because everybody's so greedy, and it's developing everybody into a hustler. And then it's a perpetuating issue because hustlers don't give a fuck about anybody but themselves and maybe the couple of people they have around them. And even then, if they're not like directly related to them, it's if you best. And then we already don't fucking fuck with each other because of social media and the pandemic, and like we're all very antisocial. I don't even like to go like after I'm done working. I don't even like to leave my house, my apartment. You know, Dino saw that. Dino was like, "You want to go?" And I'm like, "Nah." He was in town. Like,
and you know what? And that's the thing is like even with that factoring in, I'm the same way where it's like it was more so that I was like, well, I'm here, let's just go do something. And you're just like, fuck you, man. Can we just go home? And I'm like, all right, yeah, that's fine. So, but that was the thing was that and you know what? I'm the same way where it's like, hey, I knew I wasn't driving because I don't know no idea where I'm driving to. You were driving everywhere. So I was like, yeah, my job was just to go out and have a good time, which you cater to. So it's like in the same way when you come up here, yeah, we'll go out. You can get shit faced as long as you don't throw up in my car. I don't give a shit. Which I did.
Right outside the car, right?
I threw up right beside his car. So because I'm a gentleman. And then he moved the car, and I was like, that's a smart idea.
Yeah, I don't want nobody knowing it was me.
No, of course not. It's got to be responsible, right? So In other news, so this is actually pretty messed up. Was there's somebody called DJ Soda. So you can't really see it, guys. You might want to zoom in, but DJ Soda is a DJ, obviously. Who's quite attractive, and she is Korean, I believe. And she was so it was two
Asian and talented.
two other participants in the show assaulted her, and I think they just did a like a like just like, and you're like,
I already don't believe this story. Asian girls don't have titties. Get the fuck out of here.
oh, she does, yeah. No, you just Google DJ Soda and look up a picture.
Soda,
like
Soda,
like pop. DJ Soda.
DJ Soda. That's a dumb name.
It kind of is, right? Especially like Korean, you're like, you know.
Okay, she's got tits for an Asian, but I wouldn't call them tits.
No, but listen, men are perverts, right? So
she's 35. She looks like 20.
Oh, bro, Asian don't raisin. That's just how it is, man. It's black don't crack, Asian don't raisins. That's just.
I was having like a back and forth with this I don't know, Asian lady at a Chinese restaurant. I don't want to assume she's Chinese, even though she worked at a Chinese restaurant. But you never know. But my brother was hanging out. He was with me, and we were doing I was doing a DoorDash, and he was just hanging out. And he when we got into the back of the car, he was like, "So that was very obviously a cougar, and she was Asian. But the problem is, she could have been, since she was obviously older than you." Yeah. But she looked 40. She could have been 150. There's no fucking way to tell.
It's trust me, it's messed up because they Asians will be like, oh, you look anywhere from 19 to 40. And then they're like, I'm 67. You're like, what the fuck?
What?
Yeah. And the thing is, it's weird because they'll hit an age of like 74. And all of a sudden they just crumple into
they're
another
old.
person. And there's like,
all of a sudden.
And you're like, why are you
always...
They just look so mean all of a sudden. You're like, why are you so angry? And they're like, I'm not angry. You're like, yeah, you are. That's just factual. Like for me, I've looked this way since I was 15. That's it. Just more gray. That's it. That's the big difference.
Yeah, I've looked the same since I was like 12, except for like I've grown my hair, my beard a little more, and I've gotten a little fatter. That's about it. Other than that, I look the same.
Listen, and now I'm like, looking, I have cheekbones coming in and shit. I'm like, yeah, this is the first time for me. So I'm like, I'm Benjamin Button this shit. Okay, so speaking of Benjamin Button, Paul Rudd, that is the oil painting in Paul Rudd's attic. If anyone has watched the show, Paul Rudd may be Dorian Gray. I'm just saying, like, how has he not aged? Because I don't know, how old were you? Did you ever see Clueless, the movie?
I have seen it, yeah.
You have seen it, okay.
But I think that came out, I was a year old. It was 95, I think, is when that movie came out. So
your response gave me cancer. God damn it. Fucking asshole. But
not cancer, cataracts.
A little bit of I felt it right in my taint. It was horrible. It was just,
but yeah, he's looked the same since that fucking movie, which is almost 30 years now.
I've started using moisturizers and stuff just because I'm trying to keep up.
Just trying to keep what you got right now.
Like that's a lot of what I do on a daily basis is just to I'm trying to lose fat but keep everything else decent. It's slowly. I even found I found a spray that's supposed to help with follicle growth because I'm like I don't have male pattern baldness. I suffer from stress-induced follicle calcification. That's what it is. So I'm like, I have you could see some of the hair is still there, but I'm like, it's just really bad. Yeah, fuck you, you bastard.
Mine's starting to thin though too.
Oh, my hair's starting to thin. All this luxury, just
way the fuck back there. Look at that.
I will punch you right in the head.
Woo.
It
don't look that bad on camera, but when I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't look like this shit, you're fine. I'm like, this is an island right now. I'm like, I even tried to do a joke, and I'm like, my father left me an island. It's got a lot of beachfront property. It's very accessible year round. I keep it right here, right on the top of my head. That's my island. It's awesome.
Why don't you just shave it? Dudes look badass with bald heads.
So the problem was I was so fat that I was like, if I do that, I will never go back. And I'm like, I kind of like, I enjoy having some hair. So, and also too, I don't really care like about being bald or having bald spots or whatever this is. I'm like, number one, I'm 6'2".
Nobody can see it anyway.
Nobody can see it anyway. Like, I don't really care. And people are like, "You're bald." I'm like, "That's okay. I have a big wiener. Doesn't matter. I don't, you know." So it's one of those things where people are like, "Yeah, well, I don't like you." I'm like, "My wife is Asian. She's got big tits. Don't like. You can't win. Like, I have nothing."
My hair is my personality. If we didn't mention that earlier.
He's also a they them. You know.
I'm not. I'm fucking not. I don't even do the fucking pronoun thing. Like, if you want to do the pronoun thing, go for it. But like, that's not me at all.
I will give you 5 minutes of walking into a bar that's filled with they thems, and immediately you'll be like, "Okay, what's my backstory?" And you'll just totally make it up on the spot. So
I'm not making shit up.
You're
I'm gonna go in there and I'm not gonna say nothing because I know they them or not. If you're a female, I know that all I gotta do is let you talk.
I think that works with most females, just in general.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what you fucking say your pronouns are. If I want to fuck you, then I know to just ask questions about you. Like, yeah, I ain't gotta have a backstory.
As we said, women are having a hard time this week, and examples of this are specifically in this meme here. So it's like when you save her from a fire, but she says, "I have a boyfriend," and you say, "Back you go." Okay, that's what's happening, ladies. So just don't be so mean to us. Okay, we're just trying to be helpful. We're not trying to put our wiener in you.
If he saved you from a burning building, let him fuck you, is what he's trying to say.
Well, at least touch his wiener a little bit. Just to give it a little smack, right? Just and let maybe cup the balls. Something, right? That's fair. Also, too, okay, so why is tamales pronounced tamales, but females pronounced females instead of famales? It's a fair question, people. We would like to know your response because famales is definitely funny.
Well, female is Latin, right? It's a Latin term. Male and female, those are Latin terms. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So then it would be because tamale is a Spanish word.
Which is Spanish is a Latin language, sir.
Well, yeah, that's what I kind of didn't say that because I just, thought everybody could make that assumption.
Listen, you.
Maybe I should spell it out.
It's one of those things where you want to, like, there's a growing trend of people pronouncing things wrong, okay? And I absolutely despise it because I will catch my wife in it. My wife is a lot more intelligent. Like, I'm street smart and like lazy when it comes to book smarts, whereas my wife is very intelligent, reads a lot of books and all that kind of stuff. So she will pronounce things improperly, and I'm like, immediately, like, I do not skip a beat. I'm like, what did you just say? Just because it drives me crazy. So I feel like I kind of want to start pronouncing it famales just to watch people go, the fuck did you say? I'm like, that's how it's pronounced.
You just got to fuck up the whole conversation. What are you going to do?
Well, listen, I need to have more fun on a daily basis, I think. And also, too, if you, like, I would like to say, yeah, I pronounce it in the proper Latin way. And people go, is that accurate? And like, I can, like, you have the same skill that I do in that you can say stuff. And for a second, people go, is that right? And then you just move on it. So if you say something more interesting, they'll forget about it. But like in 6 days later, they'll call you and be like, hey, that's not right what you said. That's definitely wrong. And you're like, I don't even remember what the conversation was. But.
Right, I don't remember. I get hit with that. You're a gaslighter because of that, though. I'm like, no, I just say a lot of stuff that I don't mean all the time.
Listen, I'm not a gaslighter. I'm a Molotov cocktail waiting to go off. Okay, that's what I am. I will watch this mother burn to the ground.
Exactly. I throw information out in the world to watch the world burn. Essentially.
Yeah. Listen, and that's the thing is, it's winter's coming, people. Winter's coming. And,
winter's coming.
We need a little bit of fire. Okay. Also, on that note, with regards
to nothing, Jon Snow.
Jon Snow, you're a dipshit. Speaking of dipshits, like, we've had a growing trend where, like, I am a firm believer that people should be. You're a gaslight cocktail. Thanks, honey. You're absolutely right. I am. So it's one of those things where, like, people, like, I am a firm believer that people should feel safe, happy, and should be afforded love. Now, if you're a piece of shit, you're not going to get those things. But, like, all things being equal, you should be able to feel safe, you should be able to be happy, and you should be able to welcome love, right? Those are three basic principles that I think are so it separates us from
The ape.
civilization versus, well, I didn't want to say apes because
We'll call that.
but yeah, but that's so it's the whole idea that like that's what gives us civilization. But then you have people who are going completely insane. So now you have things like this where it's like, I don't believe that women have any rights and I think gays should be hanged. So the response is, wow, what a complete primitive asshole you are. You must be a Republican. Which, number one, the infatuation with people being either
What the fuck did you get me into here?
listen, it gets better. So if you
What?
are fixated on people
I don't
being
remember seeing this one.
well, it's new. Democrat or Republican is your only option. That's ridiculous because the guy says, no, actually, I'm a Muslim and those are my religious beliefs, which is accurate. Just, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. I hope you don't think I'm Islamophobic.
Oh, I remember that part. Okay.
So you having principles, there's nothing wrong with having principles. But if you're going to have principles, then you have to stick with them between the good and the bad. If you don't, then you are called a coward. And cowards get nothing. So be woke, that's fine. But if you're going to stick with it, you have
stick to your principles. Yeah.
You have to stick to your principles. You can't
that's man 101. This is for the women. This is for the women who want equality.
Yeah, you want equality?
Stick to your fucking principles.
No. Hey, die on the cross for your principles.
If you're willing to live by a cause, you're willing to die by a cause. Look at MLK, Medgar Evers, John Lennon, Jesus. All four men who lived and died by their cause.
Listen, that's what actually sets us apart. Just so people understand it, if you have you should have principles. You should have a cause to live for. That makes you a better person, in my opinion. Okay, like
I disagree.
Cole is a heathen. He doesn't give a shit about anything.
I have no principles.
Not
because
one.
I don't want to die by anything. I will change. I'll switch it up if I have to. I'll make shit up as I go along. All right. Nothing's worth dying for. It would be honest with you. I might believe something one day, and then by Tuesday, I'm like, it's a little salty.
Did I really care? Yeah.
So I have a different. But if you're gonna say this is what I believe, then fucking believe it. Okay. I don't believe in anything. I don't believe in anything. That's what it comes down to.
That's because, listen, Cole needs love. Just so if anyone's looking, he needs love. That's what he needs. It's one of those things. He's like, I'm happy, but I need, and I feel safe because this is my own place. But he needs a little bit of love, people.
It's all fucking feeling safe shit. I'm so tired of that.
Oh,
my safe zone. I didn't have a safe zone when I was a kid. Why would I want one as an adult? Get the fuck out of here.
I don't think anyone who's had siblings had a safe zone though, right? Like, because listen, especially
brothers.
Oh no, listen, I had 3 brothers, so that was 4 of us. There were 2 tag teams, so all we did was beat the shit out of each other. Because there was 2, my older brothers, I have 2 years between them, so one brother is 12 years older, another one's 10 years older than me. Then I had a brother who's only 2 years older than me, and so we had kind of like 2 pairs separated by 10 years, right? So these were 10 years, and these were 10 years. So then it would be like we just switch it up, and it's like, okay, you have one old, one young, and we'd fight each other. And I'm telling you, and then like puberty happened. Yeah, it was tag team fights every time, and we hit puberty, and then it was like 4 grown ass men who worked
beating the shit out of each other.
Hey, we worked at a machine shop with like steel and like machinery and stuff. We broke shit constantly. Okay.
Oh, for sure, 100%. Man, I was like a grown man at the age of 10. Like pretty much, I like hit fucking puberty immediately, walking around with like a peach fucking mustache. You know what I mean? And I'm the oldest too. I was the oldest. So all my siblings, I'm literally just like, I'm a kid, but like you can't tell. I look like I'm my sibling's dad. You know what I mean? Just beating the shit out of his brothers. You know what I mean? Like, and so still to this day, my siblings aren't bigger than me. So their entire lives, they've had to deal with me being the biggest, the strongest, most athletic, the meanest.
That was definitely. Cole is a firm believer in, well, I had it hard, so you're gonna have it hard. It's that simple. Yeah.
But no, it's not that. It was more like, well, if I don't show you what's gonna happen to you, it's gonna happen to you. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Yeah. Well, so, and that's the funny thing is that a few people, there was a few memes about this, how like if you look back at like men playing in the NBA in like the 70s, you're like, okay, that guy was 19 and he looked like he's 45. Okay. And you're going, yeah,
What was that? Was that alcohol or was that just basic like
so
evolution?
it's not even that. It's more so the necessity of kind of having to be more mature. So what they're saying is like the fact that more and more people look youthful isn't a sign of progress or science. No, it's just because we haven't had to become men, right? Because men had to like like trauma has a weird effect on people. You have to face it and get through it. So it's the same thing like drugs, okay? And I was actually talking about this at the comedy show was because the guy's like, man, I've been sober for 5 years. And I'm like, haha, loser. So because but like that's the thing is start talking about hard drugs and stuff, and you're like, the thing is, especially when it comes to real drugs, is that you can do it, and at a certain point, you either decide to stop because you're like, oh, I don't want this to be my life anymore, or you go the other path, and then eventually it just kills you.
Right.
And that's kind of the thing. Like the people talk about the 27 Club and stuff like that, where people just let it go rampant and it just takes over your life because that's what drugs do, right? If it becomes the priority, then eventually everything else becomes second place, third place, fourth place, and then it's just there are no other places other than drugs.
Can I
So
just say, as like the oldest sibling, I didn't have a father around. My siblings didn't have a father around, so I was like the male stable of the house, which was dumb to put on an 8-year-old.
definitely,
But moving forward as an adult, now I'm the father of a child, and I'm the patriarch of my actual. I'm a legit patriarch of my family because my mom is sick and she doesn't know how to do taxes and just dumb shit like that. You know, like I would love to be able to get addicted to drugs. Believe me, I tried. I've tried. I tried when I was 20 years old to get addicted to drugs because the only thing you worry about when you do drugs, I hear, is drugs. And I can't not do that. I don't know. It's still when
yeah,
I was doing drugs, I was like, I gotta pay the fucking rent and like I don't know, and the fucking this and that and the car insurance.
yeah. It's one of those things where, yeah, drugs are like, listen, especially in a world right now where drugs are like, hey, some people need drugs. You're like, okay, that's not.
I'm so tired of
That's,
everybody enabling
uh,
everything.
listen,
Everything is enabled nowadays.
well, and this is the thing, and so Surge, because I know Surge, you partake as well, and I used to partake heavily. I still have some of it right in front of me, but like I haven't, like when I went to Cleveland, I was high off my tits.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do drugs, do drugs. Like as long
Yeah,
as you're not hurting anybody and you're doing your responsibilities
right.
around them, you know, fucking do drugs. Who the fuck cares? But don't tell me you need to do them. I'm so tired of them. Those fucking potheads who are like, I have anger issues. Get the fuck out of here. Now, if
Yeah,
it's a pain issue,
well,
okay, that's one thing. But
like, yeah, if you're pain management and stuff like that, you're like, oh, weed is great because you won't get sick. It's not as addictive. It's more manageable, and you can get a fairly consistent product, right? Like if you start doing like really strong stuff, that you can be in real danger and you can hurt
right,
yourself, right? So it's like, and realistically, nobody does blow for it's pain help. No, it's not. No, I want my heart to beat out of my chest. That's fucking awesome. I'm like a cheetah for 8 minutes. It's great, So, but like that's
my
why.
thoughts are organized.
Yeah, exactly. It's just streamlined. I'm focused. Okay, I'm a man of focus, like John Wick. So it's one of those things where you're going, yeah, that doesn't make sense, right? So, whereas if you flip it around, like that's why it's like opioids are way worse for pain management than something like marijuana. But for myself, it's like, oh, but then I found that I'm not as productive. And like my wife was like, maybe you should take gummies because I'm a lot easier to deal with. And I'm like, hey, you ain't getting an easy time. I'm not doing this anymore. Like, no, you need to suffer because I'm a horrible human being. That's fair.
That's a big
No,
thing to me. Is like when I start smoking weed on the regular, I get more anxious. Like in a weird way.
that
Like I'm
happens
not
too. Yeah,
anxious when I'm smoking weed. Well, I am. I get a little bit anxious when I
yeah,
smoke weed, but like when I'm sober from it and I've been making a habit out of it, then suddenly I'm just like just
yeah.
freaking out.
Well, I find that you know what, it distracts you very well from things that you have that are causing stress constantly. So, like the idea of I got rent coming, get high, and you're like for a few hours I didn't feel shit, right? And you're like, yeah, that felt great. And then after that, you're going, I really could use that time doing stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
It should have been more productive.
yeah, and
That's
the
a
thing.
big issue with my anxiety because I went and got I went to a therapist last year and I was like, I need to get a hold of.
Just once.
Well, dude, I went until
Free
she
trial,
ghosted
maybe.
me. I went until she ghosted me. Like she didn't want to hear from me anymore. She stopped answering my phone calls, all that shit. She got tired of hearing about my life. Essentially.
Let's be clear. Someone like Cole needs a male therapist that has seen death, like somebody who served in war. Maybe
I don't think anybody who's been to college can understand what I went through. Like,
not a woman though. Let's just start there. There's no no. You need a man who's been to war, and they'll go, all right, yeah, oh, pussy, and like he'll fucking railroad you. That's fine. That's
so
what you need.
I should hire a military therapist. Is what you're telling me?
I feel
or a police therapist.
Like I'm sure Joey could refer you. Shout out to Square Table Degenerates. Yeah, Joey, I'm sure has connections to like a military psychologist that'll give you some good. Be like, hey, maybe you should get high all the time. Like, yeah, no, that's what I don't want.
I don't. Anyway, she did. I went there to handle like minor depression issues, and then anxiety was the most important thing. It was like I gotta get this anxiety thing under control. And then she told me I don't have anxiety, I have a thought disorder. Which I'm like, this fucks me up more. Like, so you're telling me that I don't have anxiety. I have my brain is saying, you think weird, like
I think she was talking about the hose. Like THOT thought disorder. Yeah. Because I think that it was a miscommunication. That's
maybe. Yeah. I didn't see anything about thought.
Can you
imagine that hoe over there disorder?
Hold on. Yeah, that hoe over there. Is that what it stands for?
Yeah, that's what it stands for.
Awesome. Because in all honesty, like, can you that's not a good, like, bro, that was her hobby. That was her side hustle. She was not a real person.
It made me more anxious.
Yeah. Because you're like, oh no. You don't have like an anxiety thing. No. Your brain doesn't work properly. You're like, what the fuck? Who says that to somebody? That's much worse.
Not only that, but like, how is that not what anxiety is? She's like, she said her exact words were, well, so the difference between anxiety is the people who have anxiety have like a nervous system, like their nervous system is out of whack. But right. People who have a thought disorder, their thoughts give them anxiety. The things that they think about give them anxiety. And I'm like, how is that not what anxiety is? I thought that thinking bad things gives you anxiety. Is that not what anxiety is? Like, what's the difference?
So you're like anxiety plus or anxiety minus? Like, does that lead to, like, you have to think your way into a bad
Evidently, everybody in the world who has anxiety just has anxiety. There's no thought behind it.
Listen,
I thought it was like you think bad things and you're worried about things. I didn't know that. Oh, you're an intelligent, worried person. What? You're telling me I'm too smart for my own good, essentially, is what you're saying. I've heard this my entire life. Get the fuck out of my face with that shit.
As we learned from last
week. What does LGBTQ plus mean? Like, is it the premium version of gay?
So I think you have the premium version of anxiety. So
yeah, the premium version.
You just have the, it's the.
Well, how do I cancel my subscription?
Well, it's definitely not marijuana. I'll tell you that much, because you're like, you know what it is? It's universal health care. That's what you need.
Universal health care.
Come to Canada.
How about Section 8? Just hook me up with Section 8, and then I think that'll cure my problem. I don't think I have an anxiety disorder. I don't think I have a thought disorder. I think I have $20 an hour is not enough to pay your rent, apparently, disorder.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's insane, man. This fucking economy is terrible. And you know what? To top it off, I think it's women's fault. I do, and I got a sound theory to back it up. You want me to tell it, or you want me to just keep it for later?
Well, let's do it. Why not?
The economy was never better until women started working. Once women started working, then there's too many people, not enough jobs.
Listen, there are
back to the kitchens, or we'll go back to the kitchens. Either or, somebody's got to go back to the kitchen.
I feel that men should go back to the kitchen. I'll tell you why. Women have fought, and they're like, we'll do a better job. Okay, take it.
Be my guest.
Hey, guess what? You get war, you get plumbing. Until there's equality in the mine, it's not fair. Right? Hey, let's see. This is the difference, right? Is look, if things go bad as a woman, if things go bad, you can go back to your parents. If that doesn't work, you can become a prostitute. Okay, go to the mine. Okay, because if a man,
To be fair,
if a
I
man
don't-
is stupid, you know what they do? Send him to the mine. You know why? He's not for the talking with people and shit. No. Go dig a hole. Dig a hole and find us something good there.
I'm gonna tell you why women should run the world and men should stay in the kitchens. Okay, I'm gonna tell you. There's a good reason for
Let's
both.
do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
women, there will be no war because women will just gossip about other countries for 20 years. They'll pretend to be friends. They'll be like passive aggressiveness, but nobody's gonna nuke each other. You know, for the most part, very few nukes. Okay, that's a man thing. Is a nuke thing. You know, it's just straight. What'd you say to me? Punch him right in the face. That's a man thing. Okay.
Listen,
Women don't do that. They talk shit about each other, but they say it in a weird backhanded compliment type of way. Go ahead.
I agree with you in theory. The problem is that like the nation of Israel has had a female prime minister for quite some time, and
The
she
nation
is-
of Israel,
yes,
of
so like,
all places.
hey, and she is itching to launch a nuke. I'm telling you right now, like there's been times she's like, I'll
But
show
to
them.
be fair, I think that's like compensation because she's
There's
competing with other men.
well,
If she's only
def-
competing with other women.
hey, so there's a documentary coming out. Helen Mirren is playing her, which Helen Mirren is smoking hot, right?
For a 90-year-old, for sure.
Oh, I bang the shit out of that.
I would too.
Fine.
Hey,
My
Michelle
wife would
Pfeiffer.
too.
Oh my God, you see her in Ant-Man?
Don't even get me started, bro. I was there when Batman Returns came out. Okay, I was.
Okay, but that was
there.
100 years ago.
Okay, I will stab you in your face. Okay, don't bring it out. Again,
I wasn't even
okay?
born yet.
It's listen.
Legitimately, I think that movie came out 92. I was born in 94.
I swear to God. So the fact is that like, so she's doing it, and I'm like, listen, the lady that she's portraying, yeah, she probably had a big old wiener. There's no question that like she smacked somebody in the face with her wiener. There's no, I have no question about that. But at the same time, you're like, yeah, they've done horrific things in that place, and you're like, yeah, and a lot of the time they've had a female leader. So like in theory, yes, I agree. Dino will stab your pee hole. I don't know that I could like with a Q-tip, maybe. Probably like a small knife.
Don't undersell it.
It's like a fire hose.
Regardless, that was a very anecdotal answer to what I said. That was one chick, whatever, blah 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 blah. If you, especially when you consider that she's competing with other men across the world,
True.
I think if they're all competing with each other, all women, no men, they're just for the most part they're going to mind their business. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't disagree. Like there is an argument for that. Yeah.
But
But
here's why I think men belong in the kitchen.
all right.
Every heterosexual woman, every woman gives head. Okay, every woman gives head. Okay, every woman, but every man is like, yeah, I tried to eat pussy and I'll eat hers, but I'm not gonna do it all the time, and I don't really like it. No woman tells a man that. I know women are like, I love giving head. No man really likes giving head. I think we're more in tune with what's going on. Because I mean, have you had a consistent like cook? Have you lived with a woman? Women can cook stuff.
Yeah, my mom loves me.
There's not. They can't cook everything. But I've met plenty of dudes that are just like, every fucking thing you make is delicious. That's not a thing. Yeah. My mom will fuck up some fucking chicken and dumplings. Okay, like I don't know how. I don't know how she does it, but it's horrible. Okay, but she makes great fucking tacos.
Speaking of cooking, Cole, that's a great segue, and where we can end on with that specifically what we're doing.
Marketing.
Yeah, there we go. So for those of you that are still watching, and anyone who watches this in the future, is on Tuesday. What we're gonna do is we're gonna premiere a new show. It's gonna be live again, and it is called Hammered and Cheese. Where well, it's going to be the two of us. One of us is going to be cooking. and that one, and then one of us is going to be drunk. It
At
may
least
be,
one of us.
at least one of us will be drunk, and progressively get more drunk as the recipe continues. So tune in on Tuesday. Not sure when we're going to do it, maybe earlier in the day rather than later, but it is going to be a cooking show. Grant, congrats on the new show. Thank you, Walkie Talkies.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it. It should be an entertaining thing because
I
we
think
are
it's gonna be
both,
funny.
well, we both have a lot of experience being fat, and both of us have experimented with the culinary arts. You more so than me. I'm more so a connoisseur of the consumption of the culinary arts as opposed to anything else. But realistically, that is something that is I find personally enjoyable. So that is going to be premiering then. And I made that little doohickey, and I think I did a really good job because it's very catchy, isn't it? Hammered in cheese. It's a great name. Cole came up with the name.
It reminds me of Top Gun a little bit. I don't know why, but I think it kind of gives a Top Gun feel to it. Probably the little wings in the back. I don't know, but it's
between Top Gun and Oktoberfest. Like they came together.
Yeah, it's like lightweight. When you go into my kitchen, it's like you're going into the danger zone.
On that note, this has been Unverified News. Thank you all for watching.
Take my brother away with cardiac arrest.
That is exactly what's going to happen. You can watch us document our series of how we're going to get fat again, and you're going to enjoy. So,
another movie that was made before I was born, by the way.
Highway to the Fryer Zone.
Yeah.
Oh, anyways, I have been Dino the Genetic Marvel.
Sniffing Glue 22, Cole Clayton. Find me everywhere.
That's where we are. So please look us up. We will post updates regularly. In the meantime, have a great week. If you want us to cover anything, post it here in the comments and we will respond, and we will see you guys soon.
Peace.
And later.